Problem.
Be gentle. Okay. All right, well, gentlemen, here we go. What's up, flooring people? I'm Luke Bosick, Vice President of Matter Surfaces Arrival Collection. I'll be your host for the first, and who knows, maybe last edition of Grilling 101, the other kind of grill. I'm joined today by our great partners, Pavilion Floors out of Woburn, Massachusetts. They're a starting dealer that's been kicking ass in New England for over 20 years and has been one of our most consistent sellers and installers of our architectural entry grills. So while I'm always grateful of anyone willing to talk to me about entryways, they've agreed to chat with us today about all things foot grills. The goal for this session is really simple, just hoping we shed some light on this crazy, mysterious, often overlooked world of entryways, how to hopefully make them profitable, but really understand and overcome the common challenges. So again, gentlemen, thank you. I'm really looking forward to this session. I think it's going to be great. Could also be a total train wreck, but hopefully we can have a little bit of fun with this. And let's kick things off. If we can have everyone kind of go through and do a quick introduction. Just give me your name, how long you've been with the with Pavilion Floors, and what you do for the company. And if you don't mind, Joe, if you could kick us off, that'd be great.
Sure thing. Joe Piscatello. I'm the Senior Vice President over here at Pavilion. I started with Pavilion back in 2006 as an account executive. I had that role for about 10 years. And then in 2016, I moved over to my current role today as Senior Vice President.
Awesome. Fantastic. That's a working your way up. I love it. Ed, let's go with you.
Hello, I'm Ed Gaffano, Senior Account Executive at Pavilion Floors. Been with Pavilion for 13 years. Third generation in the flooring world, and have a little over 25 years in the flooring industry.
Awesome. Fantastic. So not your first rodeo with this stuff. That's
no,
fantastic.
It's not. Nope, I've seen it all.
I'm sure you have. All right, let's keep it going. Arthur, you wanna chime in next?
Arthur Rosende. I've been with Pavilion for about 7.5 years now, and I've been in the flooring business from installation all the way to the position I'm in today, which is Senior Project Manager. And I've installed, so I've done quite a bit, and that's all I got.
Fantastic. The camera's partially blocking the rest of the room there. Who else we got with you?
Jim Pergamo, Senior Account Manager. Been here for Pavilion Floors for 20 years. Been in the flooring business for 44 years. And that's it.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I'm turning 44 in December, Jim. So you started in 78. Let me guess, 78, right?
14 years old I started.
Wow.
That's amazing. Awesome.
I'm Mike Tavera, account executive. Been at Pavilion for 7 years in August, and been in the business over 25 total. Been started as an estimator back at a company in Fall River. I owned my own company for 10 years. I've ran another company for 6 years, and then I've been a AE here for 7. So I've done a little bit myself. I've installed. I've done the whole gamut of the flooring world myself. So here I am. I don't plan on going anywhere else till I retire or hit Powerball.
That's fantastic. I appreciate you sharing. I think
tonight, Mike. You might get lucky.
That's fantastic. I was really hoping we would have some senior people on this call, so I think you guys check that box quite well. So thank you all. JD,
is that a nice way of calling us old?
No. JD, tell us a little bit about you, bud.
So I'm John Dunbaum with Matter Services. I've been with Matters Mats Inc. for 28 years. And I love to tell the story that my wife was pregnant and I came on board to get the insurance. So she's 28 now, and she's doing really well. And to hear the guys, Jim, Ed, Mike, Arthur, Joe, to tell their story about how long they've been in business. And I feel that I've been walking with them for all those years in all those different categories. So whether they are working for themselves or working for Pavilion, I cherish their relationship, and I'm really grateful for what I have.
Wow. Mic drop, JD. I love it. Mic drop, man. How do we move on from that, bud? That's fantastic. Thanks, JD.
Hey,
Yep.
is that a tear?
That's fantastic. Great. Oh man, it's great stuff. It's gonna make the rest of this seem really inconsequential. So awesome, guys. Thank you again so much. Let's just dig right in. The first question I've got is a very simple but complex question. Why on God's green earth do you sell foot grills? Who wants to take on that one? Why do you sell these things?
It's specified by the architects.
Because we have to.
That's a fair answer, but I got to tell you that plenty of people in your shoes just don't even bother. They exclude it. So
well, that's where I'll jump in. There isn't a more expensive part of the building when it comes to flooring, right? You have $100 a square foot plus in these little areas, and it's an opportunity where you can make a lot of money in a small area. And then what you just said is that not everybody does it. Not everybody wants to deal with the headache that comes along with doing these, because it's not slapping VCT on the ground. It's you have to put your mind to work to put some of these together. So the difficulty of it, along with the cost per square foot, is why I like to do it.
Anybody want to piggyback on that? That's a phenomenal answer. Thank you for that. The check is in the mail, Joe, for that answer. That's fantastic. Anybody want to piggyback on that?
Real quick, I think it's one of the most important parts of flooring for the building, because it's the first item that is trying to get salt, sand, dirt, debris off people's shoes before they walk into the building. Us being up in New England, we definitely experience all the weather elements and different chemicals that they're using to, de-ice sidewalks and whatnot. And it's the first line of defense, I think, for the whole building as a whole, in order to keep all the other flooring finishes performing the way they're supposed to as well.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. I think what we always, we talk to architects and designers a lot about these things, and what we hear is, well, our client wants something that's going to be durable and relatively easy to clean and last forever, right? And then they want to try to specify a carpet tile. Which, the answer to that question is really, if that's really what the demand is, I don't know of anything else that you can put into an entryway of a building. Ed, to your point, it's an important space that will last as long as a foot grill. So I think that's kind of, always been our position, that, we want, the line I always use, JD's probably tired of me saying it, is we want products that are going to live with the life of the building. We don't have any residential offerings. These are, long-term solutions to a very demanding, space. So it makes me happy to hear, your answer, Joe and Ed. So thank you for that. Fantastic stuff. And absolutely, to your point, I know there's expensive materials out there, but stainless steel currently is pushing $200 a square foot. So that tends to add up pretty quickly. Does anybody want to share their first terrifying foot grill installation?
I will. I'll take that one. This was probably going back into 2009. And I was doing a job called Chelsea Block in Chelsea, Mass. And I was personally the installer of the mat. And it was Matters Inc. It was a stainless grill, and it was the I think it was the Ultra Entry, where you got to drill the clips. You got to lay it out, and you drill it, the clips hold it down in place.
Oh, that would be Metro Steel. That's a stainless steel, is what it was.
Yeah.
And
So
Oh, you went right in. Your first installation was stainless steel?
Well, of that one, yeah. I had done a couple of the simpler ones, and this was my
Okay.
first challenge. And it was on a Saturday. And I started trying to put the mat in, and the mat fit okay based on the templating. And then when I tried
Okay.
clipping it down, needless to say, I think one of the panels made it out the front door into the parking lot.
Say that again?
Yeah, I picked up the panel and threw it in the parking lot.
You threw it in the
Yeah.
parking lot.
That was my first grueling experience with an entry mat. It was a costly temper tantrum, but we fixed it and got it down. It looked great after that.
That is the other side of the coin, right? If
Yeah.
it doesn't fit,
Just
it's
throw
an
it out in the
expensive
parking lot.
mistake.
Yeah,
It's an
yeah.
expensive mistake. So
Yeah.
that is one
The
of the
owner's rep walked
precautions
by and
for
said,
sure.
"Is everything okay?" I said, "Yeah, we're fine."
Yeah, it's totally fine. It's totally fine.
So that was my first grueling experience of an entry mat. Yes.
All right. Well, that I
So,
guess.
needless to say, I didn't do too many installations after that.
Well, listen. Fair enough.
I'll
I
sell
guess.
plenty of them, but I won't do the install myself anymore.
All right, that sounds fair. I think that could also kind of piggyback to the next question I've got, which was, the worst installation, and maybe that wasn't the worst, but that could possibly be in that category. What about the best? What about the installation that was like, wow, we can really do something with these things? Is there such a thing? Has anyone had one that just kind of, whether it was a template or whether it was just you needed some precise measuring, or we were able to maybe even install the grill first and do a border of some sort of flooring around it? What was the one that was the best? Anybody got one of those?
I can take that one.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. The best one was I did it for Harvard, and John went out and measured it, and he had him put it in, and it came out perfect. So.
So what you're
John measured it for me.
So what you're saying is it helps to have what you're saying is it helps to have a field tech person or a rep in market that's as knowledgeable as JD, that can take a lot of that heavy lifting off your shoulders, is what I'm hearing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that's
Well, Johnny
fantastic.
D, we had Joe. We have the mats over at Partners Healthcare.
Yeah.
That was a beautiful install. We had to get those templated around 3 revolving doors. I mean, those things were humongous. I'm sure they're still sitting there, and that came out. And those were inset around some terrazzo flooring. There was a bunch of different locations, and we got those templated, and those all came in. They fell right in place, dead perfect, looked beautiful. And remember, John, we got into a fight with the super.
Oh, JD's muted.
JD, you're muted.
You're muted, bud.
Oh,
Oh, there it was John. There he is.
oh,
On that job for Partners Health, after everything was installed perfectly, they rode over a forklift and damaged one of the panels. And Mike and I went back and measured another panel and got it done.
yeah, we had to replace the panel after the
Yep.
guy drove a lift right over it and crushed the end of it.
Yep.
That's
sounds
right.
like
John, we
I
had
forgot
one
about that. Can we go back and talk about how John got yelled at by the super from Suffolk?
Yes,
Yep.
he did.
Why did JD get yelled at if somebody drove a scissor lift over a grill and broke it?
Well, I think most of them yell at me because they don't like to hear the story that most of the time when we're brought on site, Luke, is to back up the flooring partners that the areas aren't ready. And they call us in and we just have to go and have a meeting and say, this is why the areas aren't. For some reason, they won't listen to the professional flooring contractor. They want to hear it from somebody else. So that's a lot of times I get yelled at for that.
Well, that takes us right into the next thing of like installation timing and dealing with the GC. So in those instances, it sounds like you guys almost by force. God, I can't talk. You have to bring JD in or somebody to have that conversation for the contractor to basically tell him you're not ready for this thing. Is that an accurate?
What would be helpful is if I could have a letter in the beginning of a project from you guys saying, this is what I need to be able to measure this. And then once that point, it's going to take X amount of weeks to get it. And that way I can put them on
6 to
notice
8
from
months.
the day one, say, here you go, this is what we need, and this is what it's gonna take and how long it's gonna be. And I like to submit that with my semen and, my submittal package.
I have my world famous whiteboard over here. I love it. I love it. I think that's fantastic. I'm gonna make it so we have something like that maybe has like our official thing that you can just download from our Grille page. It says, if we're going wall to wall in this vestibule, we need A, B, C, D, E, F, G to be done before we can go in and measure, and that's when the clock will start on the lead time.
And then the lead time from that point on is 7, 8 weeks. That way they're put on notice right from the get-go, because what always happens is they call us in with 4 weeks before the building's opening. And then we go in and we tell them, okay, we'll template, but it's gonna be 8 weeks to get this product. And everybody now wants you to put down at your cost a temporary mat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. I guess that's right. And that's probably the temporary mat conversation. Obviously, we're having a lot more and more these days with extended lead times and things like that, but that's a great point. One solution that we've had in a lot of markets, I'm a big fan. I was always pushing borders. So that's always a relatively straightforward way, assuming you've got, if it's a crazy shape, then perhaps it doesn't work. But if you've got a vestibule that's large and maybe there's a column, there's something off to the sides, maybe we can exclude that and just kind of square the grill off, because then if we have a hold to dimension, I did that when I was in the field selling in the DC area. We did that a fair amount, and it's a fairly straightforward conversation for JD's partner, David, to call the architect designer to say, hey, to time constraints or whatever, let's maybe eliminate the column. Let's square this off. You've got this marble in the lobby. Let's take it into the vestibule. Because as long as we have that hold to dimension, then we can, put that right into production. We don't have to have it measured and templated and all that stuff. So
That needs to be done more by the specifier, specifying a rectangle or a square versus, going around vestibule.
yeah, I could see
Makes
it both
sense.
ways. I could
You-
see it both
we're
ways
never
for
gonna,
sure.
We're never gonna get the area ready for us to measure it in time, and it's always a problem. We always get yelled at. And John, you remember Denver Smith Elementary School?
Yes,
Nightmare that was?
very much so.
The owner's blaming us, not the GC, because they didn't have the areas ready for us. Not anybody, they're blaming the flooring company.
Plus, how many
Because-
times have we been told that it's ready, we
Yeah.
show up and it's not
It's
ready,
not
we
ready.
waste our time going out there.
If you have a rectangle or a square, you could just say, okay, this is the size that they want, order it. When the area becomes available, you install it. Like you said, borders around it, that save a lot of headaches.
I think, and that's to that point, that's kind of how I started to have that conversation. Is obviously I'd love to have that on the front end from the A&D community, but if you do get to the job site and we're all under the gun, that's kind of the perfect time, I think, to inject and have that conversation with the general contractor to say, hey, listen, you need this thing in 10 weeks. You need the building open in 10 weeks. The only possibility we have to get that done is to start having that conversation with a boarder. You know what I mean? So I think there's hopefully ways to address it. It may not work every time, but I guess also on the front end, if we can include, if we know we're going to be under the gun, maybe at least we can include some of that material, the temporary floor material, as part of the proposal, to try to address it. Because I guess if it comes up on the back end and we haven't accounted for it, right, who's going to provide the temporary material? I guess that's when that conversation typically goes.
And the labor.
And the labor.
And the overtime to install the.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So those are things that, again, we can certainly have more detailed conversations, but that's kind of how I've historically dealt with those really challenging, time-sensitive projects.
Well, it's a difficult conversation to have because I can tell you I've been in the meetings and you try to tell a general contractor, hey, I cannot order the mat until I template it. And they come back and say, well, you mean to tell me that I built this entire building off a set of plans but you can't give me my entrance matter off a set of plans. And you kind of look at him like, well, yeah, if you put it like that, sure. Right. But
Right. I mean, I can confirm that's correct, right?
right.
It always baffles me. It's one of those things where, I mean, the plans say 10 by 15. I'm willing to bet my mortgage, my car, I don't know, pretty much everything I own, that there is 0% chance that if we go to measure that grill as it's installed in the field, that it's 10 by 15. Like,
Sure.
and 16th quarter, eighth of an inch, when you're talking about a stainless steel aluminum grill, well, they matter, right? Or if they don't, then you're chucking it into the parking lot. So, all right. Well, you guys know the game. This is fantastic. They're not easy conversations, right? But and I guess also what I'm hearing is I have the super easy task of finding a John Dunbar for every one of my other territories. So it should be really easy to do. Guys
He's a
like
valuable
JD,
asset for sure.
it's I can't, yeah, for sure. 100%. All right, next topic. So we're going to go right into this. We're always, we make mistakes just like anybody else. We live in this crazy world where it's a difficult product. I mean, full stop. It's a difficult product. We understand it. I wholeheartedly believe we're the best at what we do, and we want to make this easy and profitable for you and everyone else. And I also understand that you probably also buy grills from other companies. So I guess the simple question I have on here is, where do we rank amongst our competitors when it comes to entry grills? And Arthur, this is where you're allowed to be brutally honest, my friend.
I only use John, to be honest, so, because I can call John anytime during the day, night, and go to the site if there's a problem. That's
Well,
why
what
I only
happens
use
if
John.
we're
I
not? What
don't use
happens if we're
anybody
not?
else.
So that's awesome to hear. This really is an ego boosting session for JD is really why I wanted this set up.
I'm being honest.
Oh, I'm
I'm
loving
being
it.
honest. It's hard enough to deal with these grills than to deal with somebody else. John, I've known over 20 years. And
Fair
I
enough.
trust him. I trust him, and he knows me, and we know each other. And it's hard enough dealing with the issues that come from installing these grills, and I don't want to make it even worse.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, a local presence, local trusted presence is kind of key to the success of these. Fair enough. But hold on, Arthur, what happens if we're not specified?
I asked John to give me, in my world, we're allowed 2 other manufacturers. I handle file sub-bid work, schools, so they have to provide 2 equals.
Got it.
And
So if
usually
there's a grill,
Matt Sink is usually in there as an equal, even though if they're not the basis of design, but most of the times they're in. If they're not
listed as an
still
equal,
submit.
sure, gotcha.
I still submit as an equal. I can do a substitution form as long as it meets the specs. They can't say no legally. So.
Fair enough. Anybody else? Mike, Ed, anybody?
I've had we're doing and I apologize, Johnny D. We do have a job that we are doing for a high school that we have Nystrom on. And the one nice thing that they do, and I know John will do the same if we ask them to, but they actually want to do their own template. So they add it into their quote, and they actually send their own guy to site to do the templating.
Can they install them?
Well, we're gonna find out if it fits. And I'll let you know after further discussions when it comes in if it actually fits.
It actually fits.
And I'm not, that's a problem for us is the templating process is tough because, and I think we as a company can do a better job with that process as well. But getting the templates done on site when they're finally ready and then getting them delivered to Matt Sink, it's sometimes they get lost in the shuffle. We gotta figure out, we gotta pay a guy to bring them there. I think the templating process, when we can finally template after we get through the fist fight up with the GC, and I think it was referenced to Johnny D one time that he doesn't know what he's talking about. we're just gonna trim them in place, remember? Ron,
Yep.
we're gonna trim them in place, and we're like, John's like,
100%.
I've been selling these things over 20-something years, I'm pretty sure I know what I'm talking about. But once you get through that, you can actually get the template done. I think maybe between this partnership, we can do a better job of figuring out a way to do better templating.
Hey,
Because
John, you wanna start doing templates?
John's like, I'll do them. Hey, we've done a couple together,
We have.
but maybe
I
there's
like that idea.
maybe there's a better procedure in place between, we can, figure out a better way to get the templating done together. So, I know John can't be everywhere, and, maybe we have a certain representative that goes to the jobs when they're ready and does the template. And maybe there's someone from Matters Inc. that's with us, and we can, hand it right to you guys right then and there, so it doesn't get lost, so we don't wait a week to get it to you guys.
Got
I'm
it.
at, right now we're having a problem with Matinco, those mats, and I think we've gone 3 rounds of shop drawings, and we've had to template one of them twice, and that's, every time we're gonna do that, we lose a week, we lose a week, we lose a week. And then ultimately it's, one of us getting yelled at about where the hell my mats are.
So templating service would be of value. Now, is that a line item that's included from Nystrom? You said, is that a line item that's included, or do they do it free of charge?
So I think they charge $1,500.
Yes.
Got it. So it's
And
a
they
line
quote to
item
us on
and
top of the material in the freight, and there's a line item.
Yeah.
for- So.
So it's-
and either, because we carry it on our end. So
Yeah.
it's either you guys help us handle that and we build it into the quote with you, or
Of
we
course.
still carry it on our end. But I just think it would be better to get a specialist to help us do the templating rather than
Somebody
rely
that
on
knows
our
it.
foreman and our field guys and.
fair
Yeah.
enough.
I'm always gonna have the best making your template.
Johnny Deacon Moonlight.
Johnny, he's just sitting around waiting to do templates, guys. I mean, what are you talking about? No, that's fair. I think in some markets we have abilities to do templating. So that's kind of my unenviable task is to try to replicate that, everywhere, because I kind of wholeheartedly believe if we could do that on a national scale, I got to imagine that'll make life a lot easier. So that's a great point. So thank you for sharing that.
And I'm just, again, I'll make this quick because I'm being a blabbermouth. But, I know like when a granite countertop company comes in now, a lot of them have that new machine where they just plot the dots and then it produces the shop drawings right there. Is there a similar piece of equipment that you know of that can act as a similar thing where you can go in there and hit the dots of the 4 walls? And
Electronic.
it'll give you that electronic drawing like the countertop guys use?
Funny you ask. We probably have the same machine. We use it for our factory kind of purposes to take the templates and just try to make it easier for the factory to go off of an AutoCAD file basically instead of directly the template. So, but we have the machine. It hasn't been rolled out into the field. It's not an inexpensive machine, and for us to send it out to various markets. So we're not quite there yet, but certainly a possibility, and also one of the reasons for this call. So, it gives me some food for thought about, next steps and how we can just continue to make this an easier process for everyone. So.
Yeah, I don't want to kill this topic, but I had that on my notes, but just the templating process, Luke. So I'm just gonna, support Mike on what he was just talking about, because it is, we have installers and, they go out there, they do a template, they bring it back to the warehouse, something happens, we lose it, we ship it to you guys lose it, whatever the case may be, we end up doing it over and over again. And it just that process itself can be challenging.
So what I'm hearing is templating. What I'm hearing is field support on that. But then again, I guess, you guys have a really unique market because you got 2 of our most senior people. So JD on your side of the business and David Cassidy on our A&D side of the business. And, David's very design oriented, right? So a lot of these crazy grills that you're seeing in your market, that's his doing. That's him working with the architect and the designer to really, one of the things that we're always trying to promote is make these products that kind of blend in with the design and help accentuate, the space instead of kind of sticking out. So we see a lot of that more so in your market than other markets. But it's an important topic. I'm glad we're talking about it, and we'll kind of continue to work to find solutions for that. So I appreciate that. Just two more quick questions. I guess really just one more. The other one's kind of looking more of an open discussion, is really when you have the opportunity, do you, or how do you, how do you talk to one of your customers, and do you even promote entry products? How do you do that? Or do you do it? I mean, I guess is if you've got an opportunity, and maybe it's not anything to do with the entry space, but is it an area where you've now been doing it long enough to where if you're working somewhere inside the space that you could say, hey, we got to put something in this entryway?
I would promote tile, walk-off tile. Easy to install, no headaches, no templates. If the templating process becomes easier in the installation process, in the production, which usually 8 to 20 weeks. I had one job where we waited, 8 months, 9 months because of COVID. So it's always a nightmare. So I try to take the easy way out, and the general contractors prefer it that way too. There's no
Luke, I
job
give
that
you
they're gonna
permission to
have
take that
invested.
little bit and play it over and over again. I'm not gonna repeat it because I don't want you to take it and not have me saying it.
No, listen, JD's heard me say it a million times. We have to make it easy for you guys. But that being said, we got to make the grills easy for you guys. Like, I hear what Arthur says everywhere I go across the country, man. I hear we do carpet tiles because it's easy. But carpet tiles, if it's easy, then it can't be profitable, right? If we're taking the $3 a square foot entry tile,
Everybody could do it.
then
That's right.
Then you're kind of back to square one, where it's not really, where it's easy, but it isn't profitable. It's kind of just, we're doing it to do it, right?
It's not profitable when you're getting delay notice. You're getting back charged for the temporary. Then you got to install it on off hours because the product didn't come on time. So it adds up. There goes all your profit. So.
But what if there were products
when
that
everything
you
goes right? When everything goes right, yeah, it's a good money maker.
But I'm saying if you have the ability to control the narrative, so if you have the ability to control the narrative, maybe it's a renovation project, maybe you're in the earlier stages. If you have the ability to control the narrative, I guess I would just always, push back on you to say there are options. There are quote unquote easy grills that we have, that others have, that would allow you to promote a grill and make it so it's a little bit, it's not going to live in that $3-4 a square foot range. But from the standpoint of, listen, again, I love the profitability piece of it, but again, I wholeheartedly believe that the only thing you can put in these entrances, you guys are in New England, I see it in Chicago. There's other markets that just, the entry tiles, I don't care whose it is, just gets obliterated. I mean, we see it all the time. It just can't handle the salt, all the stuff you guys said at the beginning, the salt, the inclement weather, the sand, the constant water, the moisture. You got to have somewhere for all that stuff to go, right? So I think if we can continue to hopefully make it easy, Arthur, for you, and maybe get you some products that are easier as a grill to install, and maybe have the border conversation, hopefully, would you be willing to promote, I guess, a grill?
I promote as long as it's not just the installation, it's the template, the production time that takes forever. And if you order the wrong time, you got Canada going on vacation for 4 weeks, then you lose another 4 weeks. So.
But I'll just say this: there are options out there that are either in stock or far easier to install and a lot shorter of a lead time. I guess we'll kind of park that there. So.
And Luke, you mentioned, having the dialogue with your customer, and you're fortunate where you're talking to a bunch of seasoned veterans here. We've all had the good and the bad.
Yeah.
I think I've had my share of bad and good. but I've learned from some of those bad ones where I will have the dialogue and
Right.
start talking about the temporary entry mat. And John, we had one at Belmont where we carried plywood 2x4s to fill in the void and temporary carpet tile to go over it until the entry mat came in on time. We had the dialogue up front. We knew it was 12 plus weeks during COVID, right? Maybe it was longer, John. And you have that dialogue and you try to address it sooner than later. The entry mats came in, they fit like a glove and they look fantastic.
And that's because you measured it after the space was ready, right? So in that
Correct.
case, right, for sure, it's an ideal world. We don't want to hold up the project or the, we want the building when it opens to be done, right? You can still open the building with the temporary carpet in there, but from the owner's standpoint, if they're spending all that money, they want it all to be done, right, on the grand opening of the space. So to your point, the sooner we can have those conversations, it sounds like that makes life a little bit easier, is what I'm hearing.
So I can say that my go-to back in the day was always trying to push the ultra entry mat. I think that's what it was called, because it wasn't, it wasn't your really high price tagged aluminum grills, but it still gave you the aesthetic of a walk-off mat without just dumbing it down to a Berber mat. And to satisfy Arthur's role, it was easy to install because you didn't need to do the template. You could cut it to fit. I don't believe it needed a frame, and if it did, you could just cut the frame to fit around your area.
Yeah,
That's still product still around.
It's still
Yeah,
around.
I use it here and there.
It's our one of our bread and butters for sure. It's, to your point, that's exactly right. If you've got, so it's for non-recessed areas, right? So if you've got a surface mounted application that's either going wall to wall in the vestibule or being inset into ceramic, that's typically where we see that. You're 100% right. That's a product that really does work. It's a phenomenal option. It allows all the dirt and water to drop through. Your guys cut it right on site. So it doesn't get any easier than that. It doesn't change how you install it. You cut it right there, and we don't need the templating pieces of that. So.
And how much is that a square foot?
That's like
That one's going to live in the $30 a square foot range. Yeah.
Yep. Which is much better than your $3 walk-off mat. And it's just as easy,
Sure.
Arthur.
I use it a lot, Joe.
We just, it's not on the website yet, Arthur, but we put together an installation video, and the installation is a whopping 30 seconds long because that's how easy that product is. There's not much to it. There's not much to it to install that. So I'll be sure to share that with everyone here. Any other points? I know I've taken up a little bit of your time here. So guys, I really appreciate it. Anybody got any other complaints, pieces of advice for anybody who's willing to take on this crazy world of entry grills? I think we've covered some really awesome material here. And I was hoping to keep this well under an hour, and we're right at 50 minutes. So if there's nothing else, or does anyone have anything else?
Hey, Luke, any opportunity for a new product that has some kind of built-in border or expansion to the entry grill? So it's an entry grill in theory and construction, but around the perimeter, it allows itself to expand and contract a couple of inches. Sometimes that's all it takes to take that odd shape or that unfinished vestibule without the threshold, but it has some expansion to it.
I don't know about expansion. I guess I would say, it kind of puts us back in that border conversation where a lot of times what we would do is you would leave let's just call it a 6-inch border, right? You would still recess the entire space, but if you leave a 6-inch border, then that allows you to install the grill, right? And then if there's, some sort of ceramic tile in the lobby, you could then build up the floor around the grill and then install and cut to fit the ceramic at that point. Is that kind of what you were getting at, or am I just?
Yeah, no, it definitely works with the carpet tile or the tile. I was just curious if, somebody has come up with a newer product that the perimeter of the metal grill can actually expand out or in a little bit.
Or be like a cut, like a fillet piece.
Just the.
Yeah.
probably more
Yeah,
what
kind
you
of like the
want.
fillers that we've done in the past, but it basically serves that purpose, but it can actually expand out or expand in to fit the
Yeah.
perimeter.
So some of the aluminum products have some of the thinner, again, I don't think it's going to be the thicker systems, but some of the aluminum products do come with, in essence, a vinyl piece that goes around it for exactly that reason, that allows
Gotcha.
you to kind of cut it to fit, so to speak, but also give you the ability to do an aluminum product. So, well, gentlemen,
Excellent.
I appreciate, so grateful for your time. Thank you so much. Thanks for participating in this this fun experiment. I really do appreciate it. So if there's no other questions, comments, concerns, that'll conclude the recording. So I'll stop everything here.